Hello, everyone. This is Leif Kerwald from Vibrant Faith, and this is the webinar information session on Vibrant Faith University. I'm just chiming in to welcome you and to tell you that, well, this is your 2-minute warning. We're going to get up and rolling in a couple of minutes. I see that there are people coming online. So that's terrific. As you come online, I need to know if I need to know if you can hear me. And so what I would ask you to do is find the chat icon, then the chat box, and type a message in the chat box that that tells us you're here, that you can hear, and maybe mention where you're from. Oh, good, Sean. I'm glad to hear that. So, Breen, welcome. Thank you. Maybe tell us where you're logging in from today. So, so again, those of you who are just coming online, this is the Vibrant Faith University information session. My name is Leif Kerwald. I'm coming to you from Portland, Oregon, where, you know, we're having a California day. Actually, we're having a California week. It's just gorgeous. And all the flowers are popping. It's just beautiful here. So happy to have all of you here from different parts of the country, I see, and you can too in the chat box. Vernon, Connecticut, Hershey, Pennsylvania, Byron, Nebraska, Williamsport, Pennsylvania. Terrific. Okay, good, wonderful. Well, just another minute or so before we get started, we have quite a number of people registered for today's session, and so we'll give another minute or two for others to come online. But as you come online, type in the chat box where you're from. That would be helpful and interesting. So thank you. I'll just go silent for another minute, and then we'll get started. Thanks. Thank you, Rosemary. I'm glad that you can hear me. I appreciate that. It seems like our technology is working. It seems like all is in order here today. So that's great. Okay, well, let's get rolling. We promised this to be a 30-minute session, so I want to honor your time, and I really appreciate your being with me today. Let me just reintroduce myself. I'm Leif Kerwald. I work with Vibrant Faith. Vibrant Faith is an ecumenically Christian, very nonprofit ministry development group, and today we're talking about our premier training service called Vibrant Faith University. And what I want to do today is take about the first 10 minutes and share some slides with you, give you a presentation that introduces Vibrant Faith University to you. And as I'm going through the presentation, as the questions come to your mind, type them in the chat box. I may not interrupt myself, but we can circle back to your questions after my short presentation. So think of it this way: 10 minutes or so of input from me, and then the rest of our time together is dialogue. I will speak verbally, and you will type your thoughts and questions in the chat box. Sound okay? All right, so I want to begin. I'm going to go to my slides. I believe all of you can see the slide that says Vibrant Faith University. on it. And so I want to simply begin by saying that it's clear to us at Vibrant Faith, and I think it's probably clear to you, your presence today may indicate that there's a need for a new model, a different model of faith formation for the 21st century. As I said in my blog post this week, if you want to focus strictly on Christian education, then the traditional gathered program approach is as good as any. But if you want to move from education to formation that leads to transformation, then you'll need to move beyond the faith formation as a set of programs toward creating a whole culture and ecosystem of faith formation. And that really is what we're talking about at Vibrant Faith University. If you want to focus primarily on content, the traditional Sunday school classroom remains the best place to do that. But if you believe that along with the head has to come heart and hands, then you'll need to create opportunities for faith mentoring, faith socializing, even faith surfing, effectively using online materials, etc. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're seeking at Vibrant Faith University. And if you're content or haven't noticed the dwindling numbers and the amount of time people are spending on our church campuses for worship and faith formation, well, then the church hall simply does remain the go-to place for activity. But if this trend troubles you even a little bit, you're beginning to realize that the age-old question, or the question that we've asked ourselves at least for the last generation or two of, well, how do we get them to come, needs to shift to a different question. How do we go to them? So with this as a brief introduction, I want to share with you the big questions that we seek to find answers to in our journey through Vibrant Faith University. How do we create an authentic culture of faith formations, to an ecosystem, if you will, not just a set of programs? How do we create opportunities for mentoring, socializing, even surfing? What is a network approach to faith formation, and what does that mean? How do we create intentional faith-based relationships without being manipulative? And yeah, how do we go to them? Big questions, tough questions, but we also believe that we have some positive responses to these questions for our students that are journeying through Vibrant Faith University. Some of the characteristics. We focus on intergenerational. We focus on family and home. We focus on ages and stages. So age groups are still relevant. It's important to bring people together of similar age and similar developmental needs. But we have to recognize that we are a 9 or 10 decade culture, but a church that has, well, a strong tradition of focusing only on the first 2 decades of life. And we've done that well, but that has created some problems, not the least of which is a graduation mentality. So how do we focus on all of the stages of growth throughout the life cycle? Essentially, lifelong faith formation. Missional. How do we develop outreach to the unaffiliated and uninvolved? Becoming digitally enabled. Utilizing online communities and resources for faith formation. And lastly, the important characteristic is you. And we seek a partnership with you to develop innovative and collaborative leadership in faith formation. Rosemary, I see your question. Will the slides be available after the webinar? I can certainly make the slides available to you. You will automatically receive a link that gives you access to the recording of this webinar, so you'll see the slides there too. But I'll figure out a way to make these the actual slide presentation available to you as well. The Vibrant Faith University learning model. Some important aspects of that. It's an online learning experience, and so for the most part it is self-paced. And I'll show you in just a couple moments. I'll take you to one of our courses. Each week is laid out with several steps, but you work through it at your own pace. But we keep you on pace week by week. Each course, though, also has three 2.5 hour, 3 hour, actually they are 3 hour live online learning sessions in a webinar format, just like what we're doing today. So each course, most of it is self-paced, but there are 3 times when everybody comes together to learn and grow. Local support is crucial. We encourage and direct students to bring together a small group of supporters in their local ministry setting, a faith formation team, an advisory group. The name takes on different titles, but essentially it's a group where the student can bounce ideas off of, exchange ideas, and apply some of the learning directly to the ministry setting. In addition to that, each student gets quite a bit of support from us at Vibrant Faith University through direct access to your course instructor, direct access to what we call your cohort guide. There's a person who is not your instructor who connects with you several times throughout the course to just to give advice, a little bit of coaching, and help you stay on track. And then, of course, every student has access to the dean, if you will. That's me, and I find myself in correspondence with all of our students quite a bit. But perhaps most importantly is the interaction that you would have with your fellow cohort students, cooking on the same ideas, sharing and exchanging things that are being applied to their ministry setting. The student interaction is really fruitful. All of the work that a student does in Vibrant Faith University is applied learning, meaning literally immediately you can apply the learning and the work that you're doing to your ministry setting. So all of this adds up to online, which allows flexibility and that self-paced notion amidst your busy lives, but we are committed to surrounding you with personal and relational support. You won't ever feel left alone. Who is Vibrant Faith University for? Well, at the heart of it, it's for people who, well, like you're here today, you care about faith formation, and you care about faith formation in the 21st century, recognizing that many of the assumptions that the traditional models of faith formation were built on are no longer true today. And so we really have to make some changes. It's also for the person who has some responsibility, of course, for faith formation in their ministry setting. And this person may be paid staff or maybe volunteer, may be a veteran in faith formation, may be a rookie. All of our students currently are persons that would fit in this graphic in one of those circles, and yet they are also persons who have some influence over the ability to make change in their ministry setting, in their congregational setting. So that's the picture of our potential students. Let me briefly describe the coursework. In general, Vibrant Faith University is a 2-year journey through 3 courses per year. Each course is 15 weeks, and each course, as I said, is mostly self-paced, week by week, utilizing a learning platform called Course Sites. Like I said, I'll give you a brief look at that in just a moment. It involves those 3 online learning sessions in each course. And then some required reading from the current research and literature. Think of it this way: we envision you spending 2.5 to 3 hours per week in your work on Vibrant Faith University, and if you keep up with that, it's no problem. In fact, it's invigorating learning. That's what we hear from our students. Just to run through the titles of the courses. Course number 1, A Faith-Forming Congregational Culture for the 21st Century. Here's where we lay out the vision and the approach, and we really dive into this networked approach to faith formation that is digitally enabled. Course 2, we put some skin on that with respect to intergenerational faith formation. Course 3, we put more skin on it with family faith formation, followed by age group faith formation, followed by missional faith formation, and the program concludes by, again, looking at you as the leader, leading faith formation in the 21st century. Okay, so that's a brief introduction to characteristics, vision, etc., and the courses of Vibrant Faith University. What I'm going to do now is take you inside one of our courses. Give me just a second to flip over to that screen. Okay, now you're back to me. Hello. I won't be here long. I'm going to this screen. All right. But before I jump in here, let me just look in the chat box and see if there are particular questions. Sue, you ask, what would you say is the weekly time commitment? Yeah, like I said, 2.5 to 3 hours is what that comes down to. All right, let's take a look at Course Sites. Course Sites is a terrific learning management system powered by Blackboard. It has all the robust tools of Blackboard, and the experience that our students are having now is that the navigation works out really well. So let me just briefly walk you through some of this. So over on the left side, you can see as I mouse down, this is essentially the dashboard that outlines the course week by week. What I have on the main screen here is the course overview of course number 1. And it simply provides a really good introduction to the course and some of the requirements. So for example, here it lists the dates of the 3 live sessions and so forth. Let me take you inside a couple of the weeks, if you will, so you can get a picture of how we've laid this out. I'm going to go to week 4, a faith-forming congregation, and you'll see that this week is laid out in 4 particular steps. Step number 1, read a particular, well, in this case, chapters 3 and 4 of Envisioning the Congregation Practicing the Gospel, one of the 2 required books for course 1. So we ask you to read those. And then step 2, watch and learn. There's a video by yours truly looking at theological perspectives around this faith-forming culture, and then you have access to the slides there. So So that's your lecture for the week. And it's about 20 minutes, so it's not real long. And then in this particular week, we have you go back and do some more reading that sets you up for the following weeks. So that's step 3. And then step 4 is discuss. And whenever you see discuss here, it's going to take you into one of the forum questions that students engage in. So it says discuss the 5 practices, and that's laid out here, and you can see how students have chimed in their comments and thoughts. You can see that students, they really engage in conversation with us and with each other throughout the course. All right, I want to show you one other week. Oh, Shannon, good question. Are the live sessions recorded for later viewing if missed? The answer to that is yes. What we say, in fact, let me show you. I'm going to go to week 9. And because there are 2 things here on week 9 that I want to show you. I want to show you how we post the live online sessions. So typically in each course, week 3, week 9, and week 14 are the weeks of the live session. So that everybody comes together typically on a Wednesday, but I'm not going to say that's hard and fast. But let me just show you. On this screen is the information the student needs to log into the session that occurred on May 9th. And essentially it's a webinar jam link, just like what you got to come into this webinar. We do say that attendance is required, and but we also recognize that you have real life to live too, and sometimes that creates conflicts. So this is a long way of answering your question, Shannon. Yes, the sessions are recorded and they are posted. So the student always has access to them. So step 5 in week 9, where it says review and resources, here you have the copy of the PowerPoint slides that John Roberto used in his presentation. And this, let me highlight it here. I think you'll be able to see it on screen. This is the link to the recording of that live session that day. So that's always available to the students. And I've noticed the analytics on this are fascinating. The students are coming back and viewing these videos not just once, but 2 and 3 times. Okay, the last thing that I wanted to show you is just the picture of one of the assignments. Each course comes with 2 assignments that, again, are applied learning. So I just want to kind of show you the mechanics of how that works. So item number 4 in week 9 takes the student to assignment number 2. The assignment is laid out here, but when I click on the actual link, it takes me inside course sites. Again, the assignment is laid out here, and when I do the work, I have 2 options. One option is to actually write my assignment in a text box right here, but typically the students will write their assignment in a different file and then attach the file to submit. So that's pretty much how that works. All right, so that's a really quick look at course sites. I just want to, well, I'll stop there for a moment. I have a couple of slides that I can conclude with. I have some nice quotes from some of our students, but I'm aware that it's almost 25 after the hour, and so I want to look at the chat box and see what questions you have, and respond to those. And while I'm responding, chat in more, and we'll see where that goes. Cindy, you ask, is it possible to take one or more courses, or must one take the 2-year commitment? Oh, that's an interesting question. I haven't had that question. At the moment, the answer to your question is you got to take one at a time, because we are rolling them out one at a time. For example, course 1 is the only course that's running right now. Starting in May, course 1 and course 2 will be available. I wouldn't recommend, well, I don't know. I guess I hadn't thought about taking 2 courses at once. I think that would be a bit much, and I certainly wouldn't recommend more than 2 courses. Let me say it this way, and again, this is more off the top of my head because I hadn't thought about it. Course number 1 really is foundational and ought to be taken on its own, and then following that, the other courses can lay in there nicely. So if you thought, gee, I'd like to take intergenerational faith formation at the same time as taking family faith formation, might be a possibility. But at the same time, well, I guess, Cindy, since I'm hedging here, I guess you're realizing that our vision of this is that you would be part of a cohort of students that would journey together for the 2 years. But I'm not close to your idea. We could dialogue more about that. Happy to exchange some email or even a phone conversation. Sue, is it possible to jump out for a time period like next summer and come back during the year again? Yes, we do imagine that is a possibility and a need for some students. You're shifting from one cohort to another, but yes, that's possible, and that's something that you would want to dialogue with me about. And not that I have to give you permission, but I need to know what your journey is going to be. Shannon, are the live sessions recorded for later viewing? Yes, we answered that. Sue, are there set deadlines for each assignment, or can that be flexible due to travel, illness, etc.? And the answer to that question is yes. There is a due date for each assignment, and yet, of course, there's some flexibility there. In course number 1, for example, assignment number 1 really needed to be done prior to the second online learning session. Otherwise, it gets confusing. But there's some flexibility there. Again, that's something you dialogue with your instructor about, or you simply tell your instructor, this is my timeline. Are there college credits? Good question, Doreen. And the answer to that question is no, not directly from us, but the coursework that you're doing is essentially graduate level. And so if you are in a particular graduate level program with another school or university, we can work with you to demonstrate the work that you're doing. And over the years, in other educational programs that we've developed, we've been able to negotiate that kind of thing. Students do, however, receive a digital badge for their completion of each course, and that digital badge represents the full picture of the coursework that you've done. Digital badges are becoming more well known in learning circles these days, and will take on greater meaning as time goes on. Debbie, if you create an advisory group within your setting, oops. Oh, there it is. If you create an advisory group within your setting, could someone from your group attend? Great question. And yes, in fact, I encourage the advisors to join those live sessions. In fact, all the key players in your ministry setting with whom you want to exercise change, the more they can participate in those sessions, the better. So yes, those are open. After the 2 years, what follow-up for local faith formation is available? Well, in the same way that at Vibrant Faith, we do a lot of consultation and coaching with congregations. That, of course, is always a service available to you. And after the 2-year period, you will have come to know us pretty well, and you'll know what we can offer you. We also have in the works a series of, well, for lack of a better term, some follow-up elective courses that we intend to develop and make available. So we will always stay in touch with you. You'll always have access to your cohort of students. So there's certainly ongoing support. Karen, did you speak much about the role of the learning guide or the potential benefits of students who might be part of a regional cluster? Good question. No, I haven't spoken to that yet. What Karen is referring to is we are in conversation with a number of judicatory leaders who are interested in promoting Vibrant Faith University to students in their local area. So imagine from your synod or your diocese or your conference, if there was a handful of students that from the same synod, same local area, then what we would do is appoint a cohort guide who might be your judicatory leader or someone selected to be that person, so that guide is local to that cluster of students. And so we're working on arrangements there, which actually can reduce the cost of tuition for that handful of students when the cohort guide comes from the local regional setting. Karen, I assume that's what you were referring to there. All right, a couple of other questions. What resources, Catholic and otherwise, were used for this program? Joan, lots of resources that I can't get into now, but I'd be more than happy to share with you essentially the bibliography, if you will, of the resources. There is a document you can download from the Vibrant Faith University website page that lists the preliminary required reading books for each course. So you can take a look at that. Brian, how many students are currently enrolled? We currently have 16 students. They are cohort number 1. They started in January and they are on the tail end of course number 1. Oh, Brian, or Breen, sorry, I called you Brian. Oh, please forgive me. Breen just posted the downloadable document there. Thank you so much. Cohort number 2 starts on May 9th. So essentially, course number 1 is, we are committed to starting a new cohort every 4 months. So the next cohort starts May 9th, and I hope you'd be available. How much is each course? Doreen, I assume you're asking about cost, and the cost for Vibrant Faith University, think of it this way, it is $2,000 for the whole package, and we invoice students on a yearly basis, so it's $1,000 a year, and that's how that works. When you go online to register, it asks you for a $250 deposit, and then we invoice you for the remaining amount before your cohort begins. Sue, do you feel this program would prepare a student for UCC commissioned ministry and faith formation? By all means, I do. In fact, we are in conversation with the Connecticut-based UCC. Are you guys a conference? I know you're not a diocese. I know you're not a synod. I'm sorry, I don't know the parlance. But Karen Zeal and her work in New England, they're very interested in developing their own cohort, or at least a cluster of students. And in fact, I think some of you are here today because Karen invited you. Yeah, there's Karen. We are a conference. Thank you for that. All right. I am aware that we're 4 minutes past our time, so I'm simply going to give you permission to leave as if you need it from me, if you need to. But I will also stay online. I think there might be some other questions that I haven't answered, and I would be more than happy to be in dialogue with any of you. There will certainly be a follow-up email to you from us for attending today. So, so before everyone disappears, let me simply say thank you for spending a half hour of your time with me today. Let me scroll back and see if there are other questions that I haven't answered. Diane, interesting comment. Thank you, but this presentation was not what I thought. I'm wondering what you thought, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't hit the mark. Okay. It looks like I have touched on all the questions. So, oh, Cindy, you ask, have you been in conversation with PCUSA, Certified Educators Program? No, but I would be happy to do that. I'd be happy to be in conversation. Perhaps you can connect me with the right person. Sue, will you be available to talk at another time? I'm thinking of a September start due to a busy summer. Of course, happy to talk with you about that. And yes, we will have a September cohort that will likely launch the second week of September. Let me type in here my email and my phone number, and you can make note of that. It's lkerwald@vibrantfaith.org, and my phone number 503-351-9889. Hope I got that right. Yeah, that looks right. So, thank you all for being here today. Thank you for your interest in Vibrant Faith University. If you're interested in enrolling, particularly for the May cohort, now is the time to decide on that. In my mind, May is tomorrow. I mean, I know it's not, but it's coming up real soon. So give it serious thought. Come to me with any other questions that you have, and I'd be happy to dialogue with you. Okay, thank you all. I'm going to stop the broadcast, but I will leave the chat box open. If anybody is still remaining, you can type your thought, your question in the chat box for the next 10 minutes or so. Thanks so much.